What is going on? And the question is, how are so many of our politicians so immature? And I had to cut this down because there were a few other things, like a congressperson calling another congressperson a smurf because they were short and wearing a blue suit. Wild. How are so many of our politicians so immature? This last week in Congress, it was an absolute circus. It was a clown show. The craziest things keep happening. You know, across this year, we have people pulling fire alarms, and we have, you know, just all of the madness going on. The majority of this week was on the Republican side of the political spectrum, and just the wildest things. We're going to look at some of these clips. This is Senator Mullin, I believe, out of Tennessee. This is during a hearing. So they have a witness on the stand, and apparently the witness has been talking some trash about Senator Mullin online, and he does not take kindly to it.
But after you left here, you got pretty excited about the keyboard. In fact, you tweeted at me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And let me read what the last one said. It said, greedy CEO who pretends like he's self-made. Pretends like he's self-made. What a clown. Fraud. Always has been, always will be. Quit the tough guy act in these Senate hearings. You know where to find me.
Okay, so this is about to get so good, but let me just say, so sensitive. Okay. I am like a tiny channel on YouTube. Okay. You know, we've got 800 subscribers right in our site, which is awesome because that basically means we're the fastest growing podcast on YouTube called the Clayton Tyner Podcast. But I have already, in just my 40 episodes, gotten the craziest, meanest, rudest comments toward me. You just can't be sensitive like this, right? And so here's where it really goes off the rails.
Place, anytime, cowboy. Sir, this is a time, this is a place. If you want to run your mouth, we can be two consenting adults. We can finish it here. You want to do it now?
I'd love to do it right now.
Well, stand your butt up then.
You stand your butt up.
Oh, hold on. Oh, stop it.
Is that your evolutionary problem?
No, sit down. Sit down. Okay. You know, you're a United States Senator. Sit down.
Oh, okay.
Sit down, please.
Okay, so this was thought out. He came in with receipts. You know, oh, you called me this and you called me that and you really hurt my feelings. And so in the tweets, the guy on the witness stand who works for the unions, he's like, anytime, any place, you know where to find me, bro. Like, we can do this. All that we need in here is LeVar Burton, right? We just need a cage match, everyone throwing hands. And he's like, this is a time and place. And here's what I love, dude, is he's being so hardcore. And then when he challenges him, he says in his southern drawl, well, then why don't you just stand your butt up? So childish. And if it couldn't get worse, then the guy says back, well, why don't you stand your butt up, right? Oh, my goodness. The only thing that could have made this more magical if he would have been like, yeah, just get your little tush up right now, you know? Number one, when C-SPAN saw this, they had to have been like, yes. Like for the first time in 50 years as a company, something exciting is happening. If things like this happened all of the time, I'd pay more attention, you know? This is so wild. It's obviously so unbelievably immature, and it's just one of the things that happened. The other thing is, allegedly, Representative Tim Burchett said that Kevin McCarthy, who's been in the news a lot lately, specifically for losing the House speakership, came out of the chambers and like shoulder checked him and elbowed him in the kidney. This is the second wild circus act from this week.
Explain to us what happened with you and Kevin McCarthy.
Well, I was doing an interview with Claudia from NPR, a lovely lady, and when she was asking me a question, and at that time I got elbowed in the back, and it kind of caught me off guard because it was a clean shot to the kidneys, and I turned back, and there was Kevin, and
okay, now Kevin McCarthy completely denies this. Here we go.
The reporter was interviewing Burchett or something. I guess our shoulders hit because Burchett runs up to me after. I didn't know what he was talking about. So the reporter's asking me. I did not run and hit the guy. I did not kidney punch him. I did not shoot anything like that.
You didn't shoot.
No. we're walking through. You're at HC5, right? You guys line up along the way there. It was Bruce Wester and I walking out. He must have been interviewing someone. I didn't know it was him or something. I guess our elbows hit as I walked by.
I mean, just absolutely like kindergartners who are telling the teacher on each other. NPR is on Burchett's side, you know. He's saying, no, the lady's like, I saw it, and he just clearly wound up and he hit him. And Kevin's like, you guys know how it is. You all line up. I mean, I guess I hit him, but I don't know how hard I hit him. And I do lift weights, you know. So, I mean, it might have hurt him a little bit, but I definitely didn't mean to do it. And then Kevin McCarthy's arch enemy draws up a resolution to have him like punished or something because of all of this crazy behavior. And on top of all of that, George Santos, who is best known for lying about everything imaginable, now has an article to expel him from Congress. And I couldn't even find an actual video that does justice to just how wild this guy is. So we're going to watch this instead.
Hi, George. Yeah, this has not been a good week for you. The House Ethics Committee released a scathing report about you.
Okay.
It said that you spent campaign funds on OnlyFans.
You did.
On playing roulette.
You let.
Shopping at Hermes.
You're the mez.
George.
Okay, so yeah, that's ridiculous. And maybe you think it's silly to show SNL. It's literally not any sillier than what's actually going on with George Santos. He's this wild character who has just been abusing donor money. He's been lying about everything imaginable from his background, and he probably will get expelled from Congress if he hasn't been already. And so what is going on? And the question is, how are so many of our politicians so immature? And I had to cut this down because there were a few other things, like a congressperson calling another congressperson a smurf because they were short and wearing a blue suit. Wild. How are so many of our politicians so immature? And really, I think like everyone in the American public feels like we need a better level of leader in Congress. And we're at the point now where the well is so poisoned that there's really no normal people who would even dream of signing up to go and be a part of this. And like all things, this lack of integrity, this lack of maturity, this lack of righteousness, you would want your people who represent you to actually represent you well and to be able to make you proud, for them to be your representative, and they're just not. They're immature and they're silly and they're largely ineffective. So how did this happen? The book of Proverbs, the book of wisdom in Scripture, Proverbs 15:33 says, "Wisdom's instruction is to fear the Lord, and humility comes before honor." Humility comes before honor. Interestingly, in Proverbs 18, it says, "Before a downfall, the heart is haughty, but humility comes before honor." It's that same exact line repeated by Solomon, who wrote the Proverbs, the wisest king to ever live. Humility comes before honor. And we are not a culture of humility in our leadership. In a culture that seeks to be an influencer over actually having real influence, pride becomes more valuable than humility. Pride is like a top commodity today. Just the elevation of yourself and thinking highly of yourself. If you're wanting to actually have real influence, humility comes before honor. If you're wanting to be an influencer, which increasingly is what our political class wants to be, not have real influence, not make a real difference, not have real honor, but to be an influencer, to have an article that pops, to have a video go viral, to have your moment where you've already planned that you are going to invite a witness in a Senate hearing to physically fight you. It's just ridiculous to throw hands, you know, like we saw earlier in the podcast. In a culture that seeks to be an influencer over having real influence, pride becomes more valuable than humility. I want to look at another story from the Old Testament. This is the story of Jacob and Esau. It says, once when Jacob was cooking a stew, Esau came in from the field exhausted, and he said to Jacob, "Let me eat some of the red stuff, this stew, because I'm exhausted." And that is why he was also named Edom. And Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look," said Esau, "I'm about to die, so what good is a birthright to me?" Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore to Jacob and sold his birthright to him. And Jacob gave him bread and lentil stew, and he ate, drank, got up, and went away. And so Esau despised his birthright. Esau was the firstborn son. And in the Jewish culture, the firstborn son gets a double portion of inheritance. He is literally giving up everything. I mean, Abraham had Isaac, and Isaac had Jacob and Esau, and Isaac was very wealthy because Abraham was very wealthy. A double portion, which goes to the oldest brother. And it's not just about what you get, it's the authority that comes with your birthright as the firstborn. And he sells his birthright, the most valuable thing he has, for a bowl of beans. It's just this instant gratification mindset. And that is what our leaders have. In a culture of immediate gratification, politicians struggle to live with the end in mind. They're not looking ahead. They're not thinking about how their decisions today affect their constituents a year from now, or 10 years from now, or certainly not 100 years from now. They're thinking about, what can I do right now? How can I get away with this right now? What is a little schoolyard tussle outside of the House chambers? What does it get you? What does it buy you? How does it help? To not just go over, if you're McCarthy, and shake a hand and go, if I hit you, totally my bad. Like a mature person would do, a person who has humility, and humility comes before honor. But instead, we're a culture of immediate gratification. If I don't make the news today, if my video doesn't go viral today, if I don't get attention today. And so if we're only concerned about today, we will be positioned to make devastating decisions in the future. We'll look at one more reason that I think we're really struggling with our leadership class. This is the story of the Tower of Babel. It said the whole earth had the same language and vocabulary. And as people migrated from the east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar, and they settled there. And they said to each other, come, let's make oven-fired bricks. They used brick for stone and asphalt for mortar. And they said, come, let's build ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. And let's make a name for ourselves. Otherwise, we will be scattered throughout the earth. Otherwise, we will be scattered throughout the earth. A lot of people are confused about what the sin of the Tower of Babel actually was. And yes, it was rooted in pride, but the direct disobedience is that God had given man, as the image bearers of the divine creative mandate to fill the earth. Rule the earth, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Their exact directions were to scatter throughout the earth. And the reason they build the tower specifically is, if we don't build this, we're going to have to be scattered. In other words, if we don't build this, we're going to have to obey God. And so they are self-interested. We like this valley. We're tired of moving around. We're tired of traveling. We can just take this into our own hands. In a culture of self-interest, politicians fail to do their primary job of representing the people. The people in the Tower of Babel fail to do their job of representing God on the earth by following the creative mandate. And this is why God comes and confuses their language and spreads them throughout the earth. He forces them into compliance with what he had asked them to do in the beginning. And you're either going to learn your lesson the easy way, or you're going to learn it the hard way. That's just how life works. We have a culture in our leadership where they want to be an influencer more than having influence, where they want immediate gratification in place of having long-term success. And we have politicians who are self-interested to the detriment of the people who they are supposed to be representing. We need people who go back to humility, because it is humility that comes before honor. If you enjoyed this clip, make sure you check out the full podcast and subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date with all new content. You can also support the channel at patreon.com/Clayton Tyner. Link is in the description below.